So firstly, welcome everyone. This is the December update. It's a pretty big, important one for the PBS project. All right. Okay, so just we've got a number of team members here with us today. We're very happy that you're here. We've got John with us, of course, myself, Stephen Ryan, Carly Furlong, Gavin, Chris, and David may also be joining us. I'm not sure if he's here at the moment. We're going to mostly go through the successful start of our beta phase, which we kicked off on Monday this week. I'll be handing over to John for some of this to take over. But I'm very happy to say that we were able to kick off our beta this week. We did run a day late in getting those emails out to you all. Sorry about that. If you're involved in UAT testing, you may even still be waiting for your email to get some login details. Any questions about any of that at the end, and we'll also be monitoring the chat window. So if you do want to shout out anything, let us know. We are intending to do a demo of the end-to-end solution of the interim to replace email. I'm going to hand over to John to do that. Let me just admit Scott. And then we'll have a quick chat about how we've been going with our beta testing and what's coming up. Are you ready to take over, John, to do a quick demo?
I am, Julie. What I'm going to do is actually hand over to Steve, who's much more of an expert than I am now on this. So, Steve, away you go, mate.
No worries. Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. I'll share my screen and hopefully it will come up for everyone to be able to see. So, hopefully that should be up for everyone to see now.
I can see it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So some of the people that are in the meeting may have already had a little bit of a preview of this if you've been involved in any of the testing sessions. So this is the UAT environment that we're using with all our sessions that we're going through, and will be also what's going to be live and available to everyone over the next few weeks to start using like for the beta testing. So a couple of things to point out in here at the moment, because I'm in there as the regulator, you'll see up in here, there's a banner that's got NHVR portal, which is obviously the application, and then regulator is the account that I'm in. So for most of the people that are joining us for this session today, you'll actually be coming in there as a service provider, which is in the portal is called a provider account. So once you've been able to get access to the portal and you've logged in here, there is a function that allows you to select between different account types that you have access to. The ones with the aqua blue on them are the provider accounts. So we've got these ones are just set up in a test environment, but you'll see up in that top left corner up in here, when I select this one with the aqua blue dot next to it, it will update, and it updates to a provider account. So if you're working on behalf of an operator and you're putting through applications, either development applications or vehicle approval applications, then that's what you'll be in that account, and you'll be able to submit applications on behalf of the customers that you're working for. And at any time, if there's anything that you want to ask, if you see something along the way, let me know and I'll try my best to answer it, or somebody else from our side and the NHVR will be able to do that. So what I'll do today is give a quick demonstration of the vehicle approval application process. So we have shown little bits of this over the last few updates. Sometimes we've had like short videos just as the environment was getting developed further and building that out, but we've now got an environment that works end to end. So once you come in here, depending on the access you've got, you'll see at least this tile here to say performance-based standards. Once you click that, in here for this provider account, you can see there's some applications that I've set up earlier in the day. Like I've come in there, I've got a status of submitted, so I've been able to get through those applications from end to end. Then you can see these buttons up the top here, one's for vehicle approval, one's for design approval. So the one we'll demo today is to show how you go through the process for submitting a vehicle approval application. So you click that button, you get a screen to give you a little bit of background information about what you need before you begin. So the type of documents that you're going to need on hand, depending on the type of application, and also like the type of application that you're applying for. So once you click start, a draft application will be created. You can put a nickname on there if you want to say that you can find it at a later date, because it'll have a submission number and those types of things. But if there's something that's more meaningful, the customer's name or something that will allow you to find it easy, you can do that. There's some of these fields here that need to fill out around certification methods, whether it's been a desktop certification or there's been a physical inspection. The design application number, so obviously with this vehicle approval, it will need to be related to a design application. So whatever design application number that you might have from the past, you can add that in. Then when you come through here, you'll see that the first step in the process is being given a tick. So all the mandatory fields that need to be filled in there have been covered correctly. So there's no issues with the first step of the process. Then coming in for the operator details, there's a ABN search been built in here so that you can look up the registered business names either on the business name or the ABN for whoever the operator is that you're doing the application on behalf of. So for the purpose of this demo, I'll just use the National Heavy Vehicle Regulators ABN. So as you can see, you can put a number in here and it'll bring you back the name. Once you click this record, the field that you filled it in will change to the name because that's obviously more recognisable for most people. You'll see that that lookup also populates the state and the postcode in the address. So then you can come in and start filling out the rest of the address. There's a few sort of efficiency functions in here, like so if the postal address is the same as the registered business address, you can tick that box and you'll see that it puts it in there as a read-only fields because it's copying it from the field above. Then you can come in here and add in the operator details for the contact person. There's also additional contact person address if there's a need to put that in there. It is an optional field. So you'll see there once we click through, again, that step's now been complete. So this is where the bulk of the information that is required for assessment gets added. So the application that I've started is a new application. So the system will present you with the types of attachments and mark whether they're optional or mandatory. So when you come in here, you'll see them in the header. It tells you what type of document it is that the system's expecting you to attach. The optional ones are marked with optional. Anything not marked with optional is mandatory. So there's a couple of different ways of being able to add the files in here. So this will be slightly off screen, but you'll see these as I drag them in. So so that first one's a certified certificate in a PDF. So I can drag them in here and you can see that the drop zone highlights and it allows me to pull that into there. And you can see the upload progress and then you'll get a notification down the bottom here to tell you that that document has been attached successfully. There's some validations built into this so that like it tries to make it that you can't attach the incorrect type of a format of a document at least. So you'll see this one here is looking for a certified certificate in document format, so a Word document. If I drag in a PDF, you'll see the drop zone comes up as red. It won't allow me to drop that. It'll also give you some feedback to let you know that it was rejected. The reason was because it's not the right type of file. So if I now pull the right type of file in here, you'll see that and then the other way to attach the files is by browse files. So for those that have used Windows or I think in a Mac as well, like there's the function where this will actually, you won't see the part, but it's opened me up a window. It presents me with the files that I can add. So I can click those, get them added in. Just to demo the steps in here, showing how this will let you know if you've missed something. So if I step forward to the next step, you'll see that it gives me the sort of the exclamation mark and the red triangle, meaning that there's been something missed in the previous screen. So when I come back here, it actually highlights it and lets you know, like it requires the assessor sign-off document. It also requires as-built drawings. So that way you can't submit and you also can't get through the whole application process without doing those. So if I just quickly add those documents on. And another couple of the features that you'll see in here that I'll just quickly give an overview is that you have the option to add a file description. So if there's something, again, that you want to add to make these more meaningful for you and your application so that you can come back and reference them later, you can click the pencil icon. It allows you to put a description on there, which will then appear on the screen underneath your document. There's also a function in there that allows you to move them between these sections. Say if you happen to, like with these drawings, if I work out, oh, well, drawing one's not an as-built drawing, it's just a miscellaneous document, I can actually come in here and I can select other folders that I can move that to. So I could say to the miscellaneous documents folder, I can click that. and then you'll see it's moved out of this section, so that the count of files in that folder has now gone down from 5 to 4, sorry, and there's now 1 in this bottom section. So that gives you a little bit of flexibility to move things around. And then the other option is you can also delete one. So if there's something in there that you attached by accident or is no longer required before you've submitted your application, you can just click that. You'll get a confirmation to say you're sure you want to be able to delete it, and then you can click that, and it'll be the count there from 4 down to 3. So that's how the attachment section works. And now when you go forward, you'll see that the validations for that section have now come up as a tick. So everything that needs to be in there is in there. The comments is a optional field. You don't have to add anything in there. Obviously, at any point along the process too, you can save. So if you start an application and it's last thing in the afternoon, you're going to come back and finish it tomorrow, you can save that, and you can come back and find it in your applications list under a draft application. But for this one, and you can also navigate back and forward using the next and previous buttons, or with the steps in the wizard outlined across the top of the screen. So the final step before submission is the review. So you come in here, you see each of the sections that align to the steps in the process, where the details that you've added are displayed back to you. So you can come in here and give it a sort of a review of you've got everything in there, and have any typos or information that you need to update. If you do need to update anything, again, there's multiple ways to navigate to the different sections. So you can go back via the steps in the wizard flow at the top, or each of these sections has an edit button. So you can click the edit button, it'll take you back to the relevant section that you've clicked the edit button on. So that's sort of the basics of putting the application together. And then obviously the final step is being able to submit it. So in that, for that step, click submit. You'll get a confirmation to say, yep, you're sure you want to submit. And as long as you're happy to go ahead with it, you can click yes, at which point you'll get presented back with a like an ID number, which is the ID of the application within the portal, and letting you know that you've actually submitted your application. And so that's the end of the process. If you click done, it'll take you back to that front page where we started. And you can see in there's the one that I've just submitted while we've been going through that demo, the ones that were in there previously. And the other step that I mentioned about if you have one that you get part of the way through and you save it and you leave the application and you come back at a later date, you'll see those listed in this table as well. And they'll just have a status of draft, but you can click them, go back in them and complete them if that's what you want to be able to do with it. So that's basically everything for the demonstration today, sort of for the end-to-end. As I say, some people on the call may have had a little bit of a preview of that if they've been involved in any of the testing. And that's what will be getting launched. So everyone will be able to get some hands-on experience with that, hopefully in the very near future.
Thanks, Steve. And thanks for everyone today who's been involved in the user acceptance testing. There is a number of changes that we will be making based on that feedback already. There will be some additional fields added and some changes we'll make to some of the sections so that come 29th of January. We've got a system that's going to work for everyone, and hopefully ensure that we get applications through. Probably most importantly is the application number, or as importantly, the application number will be coming through. So on submission and via an email response, and you'll immediately get the application number, whether that's the VA number or and similarly for design approvals. Which means that number will be what you can use to trace the application. The status of the application will also be visible on the application tracker. So we're working through with the PBS team on potentially a bit more information that can be provided through a status reason column. But certainly from the 29th of Jan, you'll get a view of where it's at in the process from assessment through to completion.
All right, thanks, John, and thanks, Steve. And also I'd like to just reiterate what John said then and really thank everyone who's been involved in our user acceptance testing so far this week, and we've got more coming up next week and in January, but also all throughout the year to get us to here. Thanks so much to all our stakeholders and participants. It's been a really great process working with you all. So just to wrap up what John said there, our discovery phase has been complete for a while. Tranche 1 is in beta, which is the interim solution, and Tranche 2, which is our end-to-end smart forms, where we will be working fully in the portal for PBS applications, is also underway. We're starting to work on that, or work has already started on that. John, did you want to add anything to that before we move on?
No, that's good.
Great. Well, while you're there, nice segue to hand back over to you to give everyone an update on the APIs and our PBS data.
Great, thanks, Julie. So while we're working on Tranche 2 for the smart forms in the portal, that also includes work on continuing to expand the API functionality, so that for those that don't need to be in the portal, you can hopefully use your own systems. And part of that is also a spreadsheet. So I wanted to probably do a couple of demos on where we currently are at with the spreadsheet process, and then we're going to use the spreadsheet as I guess an example of how to use the APIs, because it will be using the APIs to effectively submit your applications directly from that tool. So I'll just share my screen now. Something that should be familiar to all the certifiers, which is the current submission template. And then I'll show you the new one that we're working on. So you'll all be familiar, hopefully you can all see that now.
It's just come up.
With the current submission template. There is a few fields in here which will be getting added to that portal view. The beta, there is work to get it to that production ready state on the 29th of Jan. We've obviously taken this and we're working on an upgrade to this, if you like, which will move it from being an email-based type of tool to more of a direct submission. So I'm going to just swap this out and show you what we're currently working on. So this is sort of, I guess, you could call it the revamped submission tool. We will have a similar tool for design approval applications as well. But very similar in terms of the information that it's capturing. It will have integration, so it'll be able to download lists of information. You'll still be able to work offline, but it means that certain information won't need to be re-entered. So, for example, the PBS certifier details, this is just test data, but that information will just require the actual name, and we'll be able to drag through the information from downloaded lists. Similarly, with some of the operator details, the ABN lookup stuff, there'll be some smarts in there. The attachments is probably obviously one of the key areas we're looking at, and we'll be looking to provide a similar folder-based structure where stored next to the spreadsheet, but there'll be some validation checking that will allow you to run a submission by simply clicking a button, and it'll effectively tell you whether the application is submittable, and if it is submittable, that will happen automatically. The files will be uploaded to the portal automatically, and then you'll get that confirmation application number if it's successful. And if not, there'll be some messages about what information is missing and what needs to be done to get that application submitted. So we're continuing to work on this particular tool. The code behind it, in terms of spreadsheet, will be effectively open source, so you'll be able to use that and do really what you like with it, and it'll provide us our first sort of, featured NHVR API sample, which will then hopefully give you some ideas of what you could do with that taking it forward. And we'll be using that experience to inform our Tranche 2, where for those that want to continue using offline tools like spreadsheets, or even your own software systems, will be able to use that API to do richer applications, where we'll move away from a lot of those attachments, and most of that information will be digitized. So that's where we're going with that.
All right, thanks, John. And then that is actually back to me. Just to give you a little update and a little reminder that while you're in our beta testing environment, you can call on CB, who's down in the bottom right-hand corner, waiting there to answer any questions you may have. So that's actually going to be Carly and I for the next little bit, with Stephen, the rest of the team as backup. But if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to us there once you're logged into that environment. All right. Now I am going to flick back over to John for roadmap. Tag.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so I think we've seen the progress and where we're at the moment. There is now we're in the beta phase that there will be quite dynamic. So we will be taking all of the feedback again gratefully from the UAT participants, and really just getting that right so that the tranche one, which is a fairly simple process. We just want to make sure that that's right and that's a smooth transition, moving you off the email submission channel into more of a digital format. And then, of course, the real guts of the end-to-end solution is what we're focused on now. And again, I'll repeat that that phase, this tranche 2 phase, is as much about the smart forms that will be delivered in the portal as it is about the APIs and how we're going to provide that rich interface for you to use your own systems and tools. And that will see us through. So we're looking at that tranche 2, going from obviously our now moving into, I guess, the build phase when we get to the end of January, and through to March, April is where we're looking to start moving into that beta phase for tranche 2, where we'll then aim to go live with a more end-to-end solution from a certified assessor perspective. And you'll also begin to see more integration with the Access portal module as well. And then past that into May and June is when we'll start to hook up the workflow side of things. So it's quite a program for the next new year. Really hopefully capitalising on all of the work that's gone in, just putting in the foundations in the last 6 months of this year.
Thanks, John. I noticed that one person had their hand up and put it down earlier on, but we'll open it up to Q&A. Eddie, you got a question?
Yeah, just a quick one. I noticed, obviously, on the previous slide that John had there, that you've got access and vehicle standards and PBS, and they're all segregated there in each part of the NHVR business. Are these portals going to be interacting between those, i.e., Section 87s that we need to obtain from vehicle standards because of the PBS combination, access requiring VA numbers to obtain access, things like that? Is that all going to start working together automatically through the back end, or is it still going to have to be done as each one of these portals are accessed for each of these different things?
Yeah, Eddie, hopefully we would like to be a bit further down the track in that integration. It's certainly one of the objectives of bringing in PBS into the portal is to enable that end-to-end integration with other regulatory services, access vehicle standards in particular, but also accreditation. We've actually got a lot of work done in the background to get information into the portal that's we can start to make available to road managers, for example. We've had to focus a little bit more strongly through this phase and beta phase and getting us to a production system, even though it's very basic sort of submission interim solution for PBS. But like I said, moving into the next 6 months, we're going to see a rapid hopefully a rapid opportunity and benefits realisation when it comes to integrating these things. I think the vehicle standards and access integration is really going to happen when we get to that tranche 2. We will try, if we can, to provide some PBS or the vehicle configuration information into the access side of things, so that road managers don't have to go searching through these PDFs. That has been an objective for us for a number of months, and we haven't been able to realise that this side of the year. But certainly that's where we see a lot of the benefits accruing, is really getting PBS integrated with access, so we can get those vehicles onto the networks. But also with vehicle standards, there's a lot of functionality and important crossovers that we are looking at. Some of this stuff and some of those opportunities won't probably get realised till post June next year. So this is stuff we're looking at in our budget cycle at the moment, about how we take the, I guess, what we're calling the MVP build for PBS, and then start to take the opportunities of having that information in the portal. But it's definitely part of the roadmap, and it's committed from our steering committee that we start to get that integration. But of course, first we have to get the basic foundations right.
Thank you. No, that sounds good.
Next person with a question was Sarah.
Hey guys, I've got 2 or 3 questions actually. First couple are for Steve. When you were doing the upload, Steve, you still got the PDF of the certificate as not being a mandatory requirement?
Yeah, we've taken those notes down from the session that we did with you the other day, Sarah, and there will be some revisions made to it. So we called out about saying that there's a PDF of it and the other one for the PBS team to sign. Like, we will be making a modification to that. It's just where it's at the moment, but we have got that stuff noted down.
Okay, and on that also, you had the ASO as a mandatory field. When you tried to move on without uploading your ASOs, it said you couldn't. Sometimes there are not ASOs with a submission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a comment.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, that's a great call out. Thanks, Sarah.
the other thing was for John in tranche 2. You've got the RCN as a mandatory field. Sometimes clients don't have an RCN because PBS might be the first time they've been in touch with the NHVR. So just was wondering how, and sometimes people don't know what the RCN is. And so it's like, is there going to be some way that if we perhaps put in their name or their ABN, that it may their RCN if there is such a number within the regulator system?
Exactly. That's exactly what will happen, Sarah. So for customers or operators that don't have accounts and they're new when you enter them through your application, that process will happen in the background automatically. You probably won't need, I mean, with the tranche 1 functionality on the 29th of Jan, you won't need to enter RCNs at all.
Yep.
So there will be one created in the background if they don't exist, but it'll be fairly transparent to you. We're really tying it to the ABN. I mean, there will be some instances potentially where certain organisations may not have an ABN, and we'll have to deal with that as an edge case. But that's currently our solution to enable that stuff to happen automatically in the background, so you don't really have to worry about it.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarah. And then Bill, you've also got a question.
Yeah, sure. My question's about the allocation of the numbers for the DA or in principle documents, whatever. Are they going to relate to the VA? Because at the moment, it's a bit hard to trace it back to the DA from the VA. Because I mainly deal with the VA, and sometimes you have to look at the history, and there's not really a way to trace it back at the moment. And are they going to relate in the future?
Yeah, so there'll be a number of columns available in that application table that will provide some of that information, I think. When it comes to the connections in the background, that is being managed and it will be there. So we'll be able to look at how we make that information a bit more accessible, particularly when it gets through to the access side of things. But yeah, it is being linked up in the background, Bill.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Bill and Sarah and Eddie for your questions. Any last? Oh, sorry, Andrew. I just saw you've got your hand up. You wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Just snuck it up at the end there. Sorry, it's the first time I've been in this particular forum, so my question might be not relevant. But so I'm obviously in the road manager, road access side of things with state growth. So many of the reasons that it's really important we get this data in a digital accessible form is so that we can then extract it for use for our access decision making process with systems outside the NHVR system. So just my question is, once I guess you've got all your systems for getting it in, at what stage do we talk about systems for getting it back out again? And I guess it's APIs again, pulling it back out. Is that being thought about or mapped out at this stage?
Yeah, so the API testing for this first tranche, we're kicking off from the 11th of January. So Andrew, I welcome you to be involved in that. That will provide, it's open to road managers as well as certifiers and assessors, and that will provide the pathway to being able to connect into that information through an API, and that is exactly what we're trying to do, to expose that PBS information in a controlled way to those that are consumers of that. And so you'll be able to connect your systems into that through that API.
I think what John's really trying to say there, Andrew, is you've just signed yourself up for some testing in January, mate.
Yeah, I might not be able to participate in the January bit. If it's still going February, I'll be back from some leave. So happy to be involved.
Wonderful. We'll catch up with you then, but I will be we'd love an extra hand. All right, that might be our last question for this session. Just before I'll just give everyone one more chance. Going once, going twice, gone. Okay. All right, just to let you know that you can stay in touch with us using the existing help centre via our portal, of course, and via our email contact digital@nhvr.gov.au. Again, thanks so much for everyone for joining us today. Oh, our next meeting will be in probably February. We may miss January's meeting. This will be early January, and most of us will still be on leave in 1 month's time. I hope you will all still be on leave. Some of us will be back testing the APIs, but most of us will be still away. I failed to update that. We'll just finalise by saying keep safe over the holidays, everybody. Thanks so much for your help again, and we'll see you in 2021.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much,
Thanks, everyone.
Julie.
Thank you.